What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo with Mike Golic Jr. That is me, back here live from Boston, Massachusetts at DraftKings headquarters with Charlotte Wilder and my father, Mike Golic Sr. Friends, how we doing?
It is draft day.
Oh,
I go
God.
back to this day in 1985 when I was drafted and signed my first contract for $62,500.
Wow.
With a $17,500 signing bonus, of which I bought an IROC T-top.
You bought it? Mom let you do that? I know you guys weren't married
were
at that
dating
point,
then.
but...
Hell yeah, that's my money. I do what I want with it. Until we got married, and then
I
did whatever she said with it.
My God, I feel like with that starting salary, was that back when you also worked your off-season job as a construction worker?
I didn't. Just stop it. Now, the generation before me certainly did, but we did not. I was able to live on my $62,500 a year somehow, some way.
And you know what? Football's gotten soft since then.
But it really has.
We used to have plumbers out there. We used to have, and now everybody
when men
just
were
expects
men.
to make a living
Yeah,
off
you know
of
what?
it.
You used to play football, and you were expected to learn a trade as
There you
well.
go.
Yes.
Right?
There you go. America's falling apart.
Now the rookies are making $500,000. They're fat and happy. What are we doing?
It's incredible. The nerve of them. Dedicated off-season workout programs, not ripping cigarettes in the halftime locker room. I prefer mine. Unfortunately for you guys, we are going to have this draft in 2023, so none of these players will be future union members, at least in those unions. They will be NFLPA members. We've got that coming up tonight, round one of the NFL draft. All of us will be a part of DraftKings live streaming coverage of the first night of the NFL draft. Us, Mike Lombardi, a lot of the crew from over at VSiN, Emerson Latzia, Jesse Caulfield here at DraftKings headquarters. So we're pumped about that. Dad, you mentioned your draft experience. I also, not of the first round ilk in 2013. I got to wait around and watch. I'm good at watching the draft because that was my only experience. I watched all my friends get picked in 2013. I was an undrafted free agent with the Steelers, and now I'm a sports talk gas bag at 33. So you can guess how that all went in particular order. But it's still a really exciting weekend. It's a fun moment where we get to watch a bunch of guys realize their dream in real time. And Charlotte, it's one of the more, I think, emotional days in sports for a lot of people who watch for that human element too.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like every year there's, whether it's the actual player, whether it's the player's parents, whether it's an unexpected, somebody going higher, somebody going lower, whether it's a kid.
Gas mask bong,
a kid announcing something. I hope that they bring a dog out this time. I feel like there has been a lack of live animal announcers. Like if there's a Texas A&M kid, like let's get Miss Rev out there. It feels so obvious. I don't know.
I agree with you because I know
it.
in all your stories you always involve at least a dog or some sort of animal, and I dig that. Dogs make everything better.
Everything.
So I'm in complete agreement with you. It's a fun day, but it goes from I hope I hear my name early to I hope I hear my name at all.
Right.
It's kind of was for me and Mike because I waited a long time in the 10th round. Yes, kids, there was a draft that didn't have 7 rounds. It was 12 rounds, and I went in the 10th. Is there anything, Charlotte, in your life where you had to sit around and wait for a phone call that was going to decide a big thing in your life?
Yes, actually. I think there have been several. I feel with a few jobs in sports media, which for me is the closest thing I've had to being in a league is being in sports media, which, is not as physically demanding.
Oh, no?
You
Really?
be surprised to hear.
You don't have to ice down on Mondays?
My current body type
but
definitely indicates
that's just
that.
because I'm 34 now and I've, musculature issues. No, but I think that there's the one that comes to mind is I basically got into 0 colleges I applied to, which makes me feel good now because I'm like, okay, well, it turns out maybe that doesn't matter because I still have a job. So
exactly right.
But I got into Colby off the wait list, so I was just sitting around being like, I sent my poems to a poetry professor, and I was like, hey, if you like these, can you vouch for me in admissions? And he did, and I got in. So don't say poetry doesn't ever do anything real for ya.
Mike, I pray the answer is yes to this. On Wilder Wednesdays, have you had her read any poems?
This is the first time I have really had Charlotte's poetry brought to my attention, and now we know what's happening. Newest recurring.
We know what's happening next Wednesday.
Okay.
So you best be prepared.
I'll
Nothing new. We want the stuff that got you into college.
Okay.
I used to do this with Kelsey Riggs, who is a host and reporter at the ACC Network at ESPN, who used to, for a long time, keep and write love notes back and forth to her childhood boyfriends and crushes.
Oh my
and
God.
kept them all, hundreds of them in
that
shoeboxes.
when you do that, and you read them.
So we would go into the closet and read those notes. Your poetry is now the next in this lineage of childhood notes and really adulthood notes. Like Charlotte, you are the Tom Brady 199 of poetry-based college admission.
Yes.
You realize that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And not a day goes by that I take that for granted, Mike. Not a day
You
goes
look at
by.
the list of people that were accepted to different poetry schools before you, and you just recite them in your head.
I look at my high school class, and I'm like, you might have gone to Yale, but I'm talking about sports on the radio, baby.
Who's winning now? I gotta believe that's probably the high majority of people of what I'm speaking about, whether it's a call or waiting for that envelope.
Yes.
Did you get into the college that
Yes.
you did that or get accepted?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's that same bit of feeling because you do all of this work, and then much like the NFL draft, your reward is now more work and harder work in an even more competitive group of people. And as
you can't really do anything about it at that point. Like you've done everything you can as you sit there.
Yes, you have. And so that'll be interesting background. We got a great show for you guys today. As always, download, subscribe, rate, review. Leave us that 5-star rating. We're going to have Jaxon Smith-Njigba, former wide receiver at Ohio State, obviously injured a lot of this last year. But last season before that, in 2021, when Chris Olave was still there, Garrett Wilson, the offensive rookie of the year, Jaxon Smith-Njigba had the most prolific offensive season of any of those guys in a year where Ohio State was once again in contention for meaningful football down the stretch.
This tells you how good you are when you can miss most of the last year that you played, and he hurt it in the Notre Dame game.
His
the
hamstring,
and it really led to him not doing a lot during the year, and then still being, if not the top wide receiver in the team picture and going in the first round by missing most of your senior year. I missed most of my senior year, and my projection after my junior year was like maybe the second round. I missed most of my senior year with a shoulder. I went in the 10th round. Didn't quite work that way for me. Couldn't live off that talent from junior year very well.
I wonder if with the current media cycle, though, you could have. I feel like you get hyped up enough and things are different enough.
Could have put out some videos of my own, huh?
Just saying.
Yeah.
Start to put that out there. So Jamar Chase, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, one of these things is not like the other when it comes to maintaining value through a season where you're not on the field in that final year. You know what, coming up next, though, let's get to media cycles and discourse around a different sport and a different athlete. The Milwaukee Bucks bounced as a 1 seed in the NBA playoffs. How do we define failure in sports? Next. So the Milwaukee Bucks aren't having a great time this morning.
Wow.
You know who is, though? Adam Silver. We have now the Miami Heat, who become in the play-in era. So 4 years now into the NBA instituting the play-in tournament. The Miami Heat, led by Jimmy Butler and another 40-plus point outing, become the first play-in team to win a first-round series. Now, they're the 6th 8 seed ever in the NBA to actually beat a 1 seed and go on to the second round. But they, Dad, go out and prove concept for Adam Silver in a way I'm sure, if he's honest, he was waiting for when he instituted this to continue to justify, hey, this is a thing meant to curb tanking, but now you can sell legitimate hope to teams who are looking at this as how valuable can it really be relative to going out there and getting a pick.
And if the Lakers could ever close out this series,
you get 2 in 1 year.
You get 2 in 1 year of the play-in teams. Listen, give all the credit in the world, obviously, to the Heat. Remember, Milwaukee didn't have Giannis for the game he got hurt in, then a couple after that, but he was there for the 2 where they just got beat, the last 2.
Yep.
You know, was putting up over 30. Middleton had over 30. You know, they were both scoring.
They were up 16 points
going into
at the start of the fourth quarter in Game 5. They had been up double-digit points in the fourth quarter in Game 4, and both found a way to give it away. It's unbelievable, Charlotte.
I think one aspect of this that I haven't seen talked about enough yet in the 12 hours since this happened is that it was Grayson Allen who failed to put up the potential game-tying or game-winning shot at the end.
I thought of that exact same thing when I was watching, going, so their last-ditch effort, their last chance was in Grayson Allen's hand.
They went with Grayson Allen.
Which just when you just say it out of context, it just seems out weird in a
Right.
vacuum. Now, a lot of times the ball can end up
Of
in
course.
somebody's hands you don't know, but it just seemed odd.
It does, but I think it was indicative of what lost this for Milwaukee and what won it for the Miami Heat in this series was, and I know this sounds very general sports commentary, but it was execution in critical moments. Like down the stretch, there was that jump ball near the end of regulation where, were it not for Chris Middleton making an incredible play to save that ball, they fumbled what was a clear win coming off of that for them. Down the stretch, some of the fouls committed by that team. The fact that on the final play, Grayson Allen is the guy with the ball in his hands with the decision to make near the buzzer. All of those things are failure of execution, where on the other side, you lost to a legitimate movie character
Without doubt.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Completes one of the best first-round series performances we've ever seen, maybe one of the best NBA playoff series performances we've ever seen, and finishes it off walking into the final huddle, the last shot in regulation to tie it at the buzzer. They go in there, and Eric Spoelstra's talking to the media after the game, saying, I drew up a play, and Jimmy Butler looks at me and says, I want the last shot. I'll make it happen. He gets the pass from Gabe Vincent, and falling down, bodies leaning into him, shot puts it up to tie it at the buzzer and force overtime where they win. He's a legitimate movie character, and it makes this feel infinitely worse for Milwaukee on the other side, because whether it's clutch performing in the postseason, this thing we lionized, and now demanding the ball at the end of regulation for the final shot, he is every sports cliche made sentient into a person.
And I'm going to go there
I know.
right now.
I'm waiting. I'm ready for it.
I'm going to go there
I'm ready
because
for it.
he is a movie character. He is Jimmy Chitwood Butler. And the two of you disgust me for not only never seeing Hoosiers, but not wanting to see Hoosiers.
I never said that.
Well, he did.
Yeah,
you know.
I have no desire to see that movie. I don't want to watch white people pass.
This is a Jimmy Chitwood play. So, way to go, Jimmy Butler. You've copied Jimmy Chitwood. Great. And for those that don't know...
Hold on. We did watch the clip before this.
Right.
We watched the clip. I think Jimmy Butler's shot was a little more impressive.
But it's not about the shot. It's about the... So, in Hoosiers, for those of you that haven't seen it, if you haven't, get yourself an education and go see it. State championship, last shot, timeout. Gene Hackman, who's the coach, calls the timeout, and he says to Jimmy Chitwood, who is the star, they're going to expect you to take a shot. You're going to be the decoy. And you start to draw up another play, and all the other players are kind of hanging their heads and going, what are you doing? And Gene Hackman is like, what's the problem? What's the problem? And Jimmy Chitwood just looks up and says,
it's a good Gene Hackman.
I'll make it. And that's it. They said, all right, go give the ball to Jimmy, get the hell out of the way. And, of course, Jimmy makes it. Jimmy Butler just brought in Jimmy Chitwood last night to the win.
First off, in that huddle, I don't know how you draw up that final play, because Jimmy Chitwood looked exactly like the rest of the white faces with comb-overs in that huddle.
That's okay. You know exactly who Jimmy Chitwood is.
And
He looks at it sort of like Grayson Allen, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, Grayson, he watches Hoosiers and goes, see, I can do this.
Chitwood made the shot. Okay?
Well, listen, and the thing I would say is the major difference between the two is exactly what Charlotte brought up here. We're going to call it what it is. Gene Hackman brought up a garbage after timeout play there. The ATO from Eric Spoelstra, way better.
I agree.
Got a great look there. Got a better look. Well, albeit a contested look, but at least was trying. They threw the ball out to Jimmy Chitwood and gave us the possession that we got in front of the at the end of the Kings and Warriors game, where you got a trap from Draymond and step up top when you try to go ISO ball, and now all of a sudden you're up bleeps creek.
It is amazing, though, when you see a lot of these plays at the end where they have the timeout and you come out from it, it's just a clear out. And it's like, what the hell were you doing in the timeout? I agree.
That's what I asked about Gene Hackman.
No, I agree.
Terrible play.
It wasn't the fact that it was a
Jimmy
terrible
Chitwood
play.
ruined basketball.
It was Jimmy Chitwood called for the ball, much like Jimmy Butler called for the ball.
And I do think, I feel like everybody argues about, is momentum a thing in sports?
Sure.
Is clutch a thing in sports? I think it's actually hilarious that the NBA now has a Clutch Player of the Year award.
Which Jimmy Butler finished runner-up to De'Aaron Fox this year.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought he lost to Jimmy Chitwood. Oh, okay.
I hate you.
Anyway. But I think that whether or not you believe in momentum, whether or not you believe in clutch, I think the one thing that you can believe in is confidence. And I think confidence comes from success. And Jimmy Butler balled his butt off in this whole series, and at the very end he's like, given the past data of my performance, there is no reason for me to believe I won't bring this home for us. And I think that is a major difference. I don't think the Bucks had, I mean, they're playing, Giannis had been hurt. He comes back. He played well, putting up 30, but at the same time, there is that little bit of shakiness that Jimmy Butler just didn't have.
He doesn't have shakiness.
He doesn't.
At all.
And you give the rest of your team that confidence when you've got a guy that's playing at that level. Mike Ryan from the Levitard Show tweeted last night in overtime, Jimmy Butler was on the court with Cody Zeller, Caleb Martin, Max Strus, and Gabe Vincent. Like, that should not be a team that's capable of taking down the 1-seed Milwaukee Bucks. Now, speaking of that, on the other side, we do have the Bucks collapse in this, which is biblical. Right. And it all came to a head when Giannis was talking after the game and was asked by a reporter whether or not this season was a failure. This was his answer.
Do you view this season as a failure?
Oh my God. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get the promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide a house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me? No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports.
So, a couple things here. Dad, I see the incredulous look on your face. Is there such a thing as failure in sports?
Hell yeah. It's a failure. Yes, there is. I don't think athletes no athlete wants to sit up at a press conference and say, what was the guy's name? Eric, the reporter?
Eric.
Yes, Eric. Yes, Eric, you're exactly right. It was a failure. They don't want to do that. They don't want to agree with that. But there are teams with that expectation where if you don't get there, Michael Jordan, no, his other 9 years weren't failures, but what did Michael Jordan think? When they have teams good enough, he feels, to win a championship, which Milwaukee does, and they don't, they think it's a failure. Say, we failed this year to get where we thought we should have gone.
Well, and that's what I think would have been a much more powerful thing for Giannis to say is, yes, this was a failure. There's a difference between losing in the finals and losing in the first round to an 8 seed.
Yep.
There's just a difference. And I think that actually when he says there's no failure in sports, the only thing there is consistently in failure is sports, because only one team is going to win that championship. And if you have that Michael Jordan mindset, the rest of it is not measuring up.
Yeah, I think the easy answer would have definitely been, and like the right sports answer if you want to avoid all the weird discourse, is just to say, yes, it was a failure and move on. Yeah. But Giannis said the real part at the beginning. You asked me the same question last year. That was an answer that clearly he had thought about a little bit more than in that press conference. Yeah. And if pressed upon again, was going to be ready to come with there. Because, Charlotte, you brought it up. So many athletes have to live with life outside of the ultimate prize, and you've got to find ways to rationalize that. And so, in the heat of the moment, when you're asked a question that you're probably going to give the contrarian answer to, no matter what that person says, this is well articulated. I think it's a good sentiment as far as how to approach the work of doing this job, where failure is more often the outcome than not. But there is a finality of, and Myron Metcalf I saw said this best, Giannis is not a failure. There are players on that team, the individuals, that are not failures, but the team goal with where you're at right now in the NBA universe is a championship every year. And if you don't accomplish that, that's a failure, and that's okay to say, because that's a goal I'm sure that they have stated inside that building.
I might even change it if you get to the final. I think, Charlotte, you made the point. When you lose to an 8 seed, to me, that's a failure. You lose in the finals, I'd be more apt to say that's a real big disappointment, as opposed to failure, because you got to the title game. You're right there, so it would be muted a little for me. But not, even though he did miss a couple of games, but he was back and playing when Miami went 2 in a row on him to end the series, so they were at full strength then.
I also think one of my favorite parts of his answer is comparing. My favorite thing in a press conference is when an athlete turns a question on a reporter and is like, "Do you get a promotion every year?" And you're like, "No, because our industry's dying, buddy." Like, There are bigger forces at play. Like, you know.
This is bigger than basketball right now, Giannis. I need you to listen.
Exactly. But no, I mean, I do think it's great when they're like, do you get a promotion? And then he's like, so do you? And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, is that a failure? And you're like, well, yeah. And now it's sad because I make a lot less money than you do.
The reporter just starts gently weeping.
Yeah, you're just like,
that.
it is a failure.
My mom reminds me every time I call home.
I think one of the most interesting things that happened last night is one thing you never expect: a 5 seed has home court.
I know.
The Knicks dumped the Cavs and finished them off. Now that's the Knicks and the Heat. It's a 5 against an 8.
Which is a dream
Oh,
matchup.
my gosh,
A
for
dream.
sure. But you never think as a 5 you're going to have home field, home court, home anything, home ice.
No, you don't. So it's the NBA playoffs are now going to get to some of the exciting matchups. We've got Boston against the 76ers also in the second round.
If they can close out Atlanta after they push Janet Jackson.
Don't jinx it.
Potentially. Charlotte, your Knicks are already moving on like we talked about, so lots to be excited about there. But we've also got the NFL draft coming up. Like we said, Jaxon Smith-Njigba going to join us here soon. But in the meantime, I wanted to do some whispering with you guys here quick. Mike Lombardi does a great job over at VSiN, former NFL executive, put out his day before the draft whispers. And I wanted to see for you guys what you thought on a few of these and what we've got odds-wise in the DraftKings Sportsbook leading to tonight. So I'll whisper these to you, and you guys can tell me if you want to respond with a roar or a whisper.
Sports ASMR.
The Sports Whisper. Yes. Shout out to Stugotz and the Sports Whisper. Arizona might finally listen to Kyler Murray and take offensive tackle Paris Johnson out of Ohio State at the 3rd pick.
At the 3rd pick? No,
No.
absolutely not. This could be the worst or top 3 worst rosters in the league. So to me, the whole situation is, does your grade for a Will Anderson or a Tyree Wilson, is it better than the grade of where you would trade down to and who you could get them? But you pick up more assets because they need a lot more assets than just one person. But if you have a really high grade on a Will Anderson or a Tyree Wilson, in my eyes, you don't pass that up.
I don't know. I feel like the Cardinals, I feel like trading down is the smartest thing for them. If your roster's in shambles the way it is, like what's
spots.
one guy going to do for you?
I would tend to agree. A little rich for my taste, even with the beef love. He's plus 200 to go 3rd overall on DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 500 to be the first non-quarterback taken in the draft. This one gets interesting. Seattle will move down in the NFL draft. Now, a lot of people have mocked Jalen Carter to them. He's over-under for the draft position is at 6.5. Charlotte, do you think that Seattle actually passes up on one of the best defensive prospects we've seen, even with the off-the-field issues?
No, I don't. And I think that they need that help. And if they can get that player that, people have been saying they've talked to him and they feel better about the off-field issues, so then, I don't know. I'd be surprised if it happens, but I think it would be very juicy if it does.
I say see Arizona here. Seattle's defense stinks. They're horrible. So I'll say again, what's your grade on Jalen Carter? Yeah. If you feel you can drop back and pick up more assets to help out the defense more with what you had that you brought in the offseason, then do that. So that's the thing, because I don't disagree with you about Arizona if they want to trade down and grab more picks. To me, it's just all about the grade that you have. If you have a grade of Will Anderson, if you have a grade of Jalen Carter that says we can't pass him up, then you take him. But if you feel you can pick up more assets, then go ahead and move back.
We had that conversation about the Seahawks' public statements about building with high character guys in the draft last year. That's a word that comes out conveniently when you can sell that to the public. In actuality, you draft the really good guy when you have a chance to draft the good guy. Take Jalen Carter and prosper. Last one here, a whisper. The Falcons drafting Bijan Robinson in the top 10 makes 0 sense. Dad, do you agree? Bijan Robinson, by the way, draft position over under 10.5.
I put him in our mock draft yesterday. I gave him to Philadelphia at 10. I know there's this whole thing about running backs not lasting long. You shouldn't take them in the first round. Quite honestly, it's probably when you get them on your best contract and not have to pay them, like what's going on with Saquon Barkley with the Giants now. But I think a weapon like Bijan Robinson who can catch the ball and run the ball, that's the running back of today, where you can still play most of the downs, but you'll still have some help for him as well. So I look at Breece Hall. Breece Hall went in the 2nd round, right? And he was going to be the offensive rookie of the year. So I don't have a problem taking a running back in the first round as long as he's a multiple threat.
Well, I also think it's sort of if I were a GM, I think I would do it. because you look at guys like Christian McCaffrey who've been the difference maker, and it's like, well, why not? Sometimes you just got to take a little bit of a flyer.
I think it requires self-awareness as a team. I think it'd be a mistake for Atlanta because they've got way too far to go for him to make a difference. Philly, like we talk about, a team that's a little further along in their NFL life cycle right now. You add that, now it's the capstone on greatness rather than someone shouldering too much of a load. Let's get to another big weapon. As we put a bow on some draft whispers from Mike Lombardi leading into tonight's NFL draft, I want to get to this one. Hearing the Packers love Ohio State wide receiver Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Lightning quick out of the slot, can help their young quarterback in Jordan Love. His draft position on DraftKings Sportsbook is over under 12.5. And so, guy we could expect some pretty great things from. We got to sit down, catch up with him a little bit yesterday, and talk to Jaxon Smith-Njigba about his process in the lead up, what he brings to the table, his quarterback, who's been oft talked about, and a little unknown fact about his former head coach and Ryan Day at Ohio State. Take a listen. First off, appreciate you taking the time. We know you're here on behalf of Tide with the NFL, so can't wait to hear about that and all the work you're doing leading up to the draft. But are you nervous at this point? Or are you more excited? How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I got a lot of emotions right now. I'm excited, nervous, but ready for tomorrow. I'm excited.
Is there anyone you've called on for like advice in the lead up to this weekend?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Garrett Wilson, he's actually made it down here in Kansas City, so just hearing his thoughts on it, he's just telling me to enjoy it once in a lifetime. Just take it all in. So that's what I'll be trying to do.
I was going to ask, you were part of a pretty prolific wide receiver room at Ohio State. So are those guys, like between him and Chris Olave, that you've been hitting up a lot throughout the process, even while you were still in school? Like, what did they tell you about their first year in the league?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, those are some guys I call my friends. So, it's awesome to stay in contact with them and, definitely get some information like I've been doing for the past couple of years now, and getting feedback. And yeah, they just say, routine is definitely important. And they really, the main advice they give me is just be myself and continue to keep my head on straight and don't forget the end goal.
Is there a lot of pressure being in that Ohio State wide receiver room, knowing the kind of guys that have come before you?
Oh, 100%. A lot of pressure, the most pressure you can find in a room in college football. But, pressure is a privilege. And, I was honored to be in that room amongst, great guys, like Chris and Garrett and Marvin, and, the list goes on.
I was gonna say, do you look now like leaving the room to Marvin there and feel like it's in good hands?
It's in great hands. It's in great hands. Yeah, it's in great hands.
Now, at the helm of that room, Brian Hartline's become one of the most notable names in college football. He's taken the reins as the offensive coordinator this year. Why do you think he's been able to get so much out of you guys in that room?
Yeah, I mean, he's played the position. He's been in the league for, a number amount of years. So just to get his feedback and learn his brain, and, it's been an awesome opportunity for me, and it's helped me develop and, to the player I am today. And I'm sure a lot of guys would say the same, but him with Coach Hart, he keeps us on our toes. Every day we come in, it's a battle, and we're trying to compete and see who's the best. So, for him to, bring that, a pro-like atmosphere, was awesome to see it, at a young age at Ohio State.
When you say keep you on your toes, how did he try and keep you guys on edge? What was the kind of stuff he was doing to make sure you were locked in?
Oh, man, there's a lot of stuff, The meetings were great, literally the meeting room, him going over stuff, him, bumping his music, bumping his 50 Cent, and making sure everybody's all calm, all relaxed, but, got our game faces on, ready to go, every day at practice.
Wait, he's a 50 Cent guy, so was he trying to put you guys on his music, or were you guys trying to put him on your music? How'd that go?
Oh, we do a little bit of both, Coach Hart is very versatile, so, he likes the young, he likes for us to, jam our music, but, he plays his old stuff.
Man, you don't know how much that hurts my heart hearing 50 Cent is the old stuff now, because I'm around his age, so that hits close to home.
Right.
For you, obviously this past season, certainly not what you or anybody wanted, unfortunate because of the injury role in that. But what did you learn over the course of this last year while you were dealing with all that?
Oh, I mean, I learned that, I got a foundation. I got, people who love me and people that I can go to and talk to, during difficult times like that. And, I think it drew me closer, to my faith and my family and to myself as a person, which overall I feel like it's going to, definitely make me a better man and it's going to make me a better player here this next year.
I have no doubt. I mean, we all saw what kind of player you were, because for your lasting memory for everyone, I think we all go back to that Rose Bowl game. Take me into your mindset in that game. Like, was there a feeling where you just knew you were in the zone and no one was going to stop you that day?
Yeah, that was on a flight when we landed. Honestly, I've never been out there, and I kind of knew that the opportunities were going to unfold, especially with Chris and Garrett being out, and I was going to have to take on a bigger role. But yeah, I mean, you can't really imagine having a game like that, but you know I was just excited. It was a crazy game, great game versus the Utes. A great program, and I was honored to be alongside my guys and get the W.
I don't know. Have you seen like the Mr. Go 30 stuff online? The guy who does the videos of like the film room breakdowns?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. Did you feel bad at all knowing the guy you were torching was a running back who was out there playing corner? Like, did part of you be like, man, I didn't have to do like my fellow offensive guy like that, watching him try and chase you down?
No, I didn't care. Honestly, I didn't know. I didn't know any. I didn't know any guys that were in front of me. I just knew that we had to put some points up on the board, and whoever was in the way was getting dealt with. So I mean, I guess it was just his time. But he was a great player, though. He made a lot of plays on both sides, so he did what he could.
It was just his time. That's a line I want to take to the bank for sure. Speaking of someone else who's getting ready to make this jump with you, played with a great quarterback in CJ, and what you guys were able to do as a part of that offense. You've seen so much, I'm sure, of the conversation around him in the lead up of this draft. Who is CJ to you as a player, as a person? Are you surprised by all the noise we're hearing right now?
No, not surprised. I mean, this is what it comes with, and if you don't know CJ, there's always going to be speculation and rumors and stuff like that. But how I know him, and now I know how he is. He's a leader, a competitor, a person who loves the game, a person who draws the team into getting that one common goal. And he's a winner, and anybody will be lucky to pick him up tomorrow.
Is there anyone throughout this draft process leading up to it, whether it's training or anyone else, someone who didn't go to Ohio State where you thought, man, that person would have been a really good teammate? I really enjoyed getting, be around this guy in training or somewhere along the process.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a team up north guy, Mozzie Smith. He was, yeah, I enjoyed him. He's a good guy. Spent a lot of time together, worked out. Didn't know how it was going to be at first. Don't really talk to those guys, but ended up being a good guy.
Did you guys discuss the game at all? Like, did it come up? How did that work?
No, he spared me. He didn't do that, which I appreciate.
Man, there you go. You know what? We like to see on the other. You realize on the other side of playing in college, everyone's got a lot more in common than they do apart. So I'm glad you guys were able to mend fences. This is good for Ohio State and Michigan relations heading into the NFL. Did you have a favorite moment from that rivalry? Like, is there anything you remember about that?
Yeah, it was my first snow game. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I realized I can play in the snow, at a high level. So yeah, it was a fun game. It sucks that we didn't come with the W, and I know how much it means to the university. But we tried.
First snow game. So what were you most worried about going out there? Were you a guy like going to go no sleeves? Did you try and go shirt off in the warm up to psych them out? How'd you approach it?
Yeah. I had sleeves on, but then I was realizing when I was warming up, like, it's not that cold. You know what I'm saying? And guys got, a lot of guys got sleeves. So I took it off before the game, and, and I was ready to go. Yeah, I was warmed up.
So somehow you end up in like Green Bay or something like that. You're good to go for the cold. You don't got to worry about it.
Yeah, I'm good to go anywhere in the world.
All right, there we go. Ready to go. Ready to go. All right, well, we know you're also ready to go here. You're here on behalf of Tide with the NFL. So tell us about what you got going on with them and how they're helping you get ready for the draft.
Yeah, Ty, had a long relationship with Ty, growing up, grandma, mom, everybody, was using Ty growing up. So, I trust them to make sure that my fit tomorrow is, crispy, clean and fresh. So, I appreciate them for sure.
So you mentioned like grandma, mom, everybody. You mentioned the fit for this weekend. Did people have input on this? Was this just your choice? How'd you go through the process of picking out the outfit?
Oh no, I was inspired by a great player that is from Ohio, and seeing his draft suit and kind of mix it up a little bit in my head. And but yeah, I would say it came from me.
So wait, who's the player that inspired you then? Is this a secret? Can you tell us? What do we got here?
It's a secret. It's a secret.
Is it so it's going to be obvious to everyone who sees it when they're listening to this and they see your outfit, they're going to know exactly who you're talking about?
Yeah, most I kind of put my little flair on it, but they should kind of get the gist.
Okay. All right. There we go. We're looking forward to that. All right, Jaxon, before we let you out of here, I need your best Ryan Day story. We all see him on the outside. What are you going to remember about Ryan Day leaving Ohio State that left an impression on you?
Man, Coach Day, I don't think a lot of people know this. I think maybe his friends and his circle do, but man, I've seen him 2-on-2 basketball game and light the score up for real.
Really?
Very surprised. Steph Curry corner threes, very surprising. He can move a little bit. So, I'm gonna remember. I'm gonna remember those games. In the Woody.
Did you get out on the court with him?
Yeah, I got out on the court with him.
Now, you heard Paul George, I don't know, not too long ago saying he thinks it'd be easier for basketball players to come play football than the other way around. Do you agree?
I might agree with that. Basketball is a hard sport. You got to be tall. Those guys are tall. And like you said, if you can't shoot, it's really over for you. And football, yeah, I think the basketball players. I can hoop though. That's all I know.
Okay, all right. So you're making sure that doesn't apply to you.
I can hoop, but for everybody else, they're on their own.
All right, no one else get it twisted. The guy can hoop, the guy can play in cold weather, and he's going to be clean and smell fresh heading into draft night. So, Jaxon, man, we appreciate the time. Best of luck and congratulations on all the success, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Guys, so the big question coming off that is, whose suit do we think he's paying homage to? We were Googling during the break here, and LeBron James went with an all-white suit on draft night, but Charlotte, you may have hit the winner.
Well, I don't know. When he said a former Ohio, or the way you phrased it, it made me think of a former Buckeye.
I thought too.
And I was like, well, Zeke Elliott's fit with the crop top was so iconic. If he goes with the crop top, that's really telling Green Bay, I'm ready for you.
I would love to be able to wear a crop. If I had abs, I'd never wear a shirt. I've said that many times.
You've never worn a crop top?
No.
You don't need abs to wear a crop top, buddy.
You can wear a crop top.
Oh, I know I can, but I don't want to look disgusting. Mike, don't ever do it.
I've already done it.
Well,
Mike does it regularly.
Yeah, I'm sure I've mocked you then for it.
No, because I look great. It's about confidence, man. I have the abs of confidence.
No. Confidence is different than looking great. You can be confident to wear it and think you look good, but then others will look at you and let you know the truth that you look horrible.
I don't know. A lot of people at Cisco Brewery on Nantucket looked at me, and they were liking.
Well, how drunk were you?
Very.
Okay.
I had a lot of frosé.
I once literally ran into Bill Belichick at Cisco Brewers. It was the most on-brand thing that's ever happened to me.
Really?
Yeah.
And how'd that go?
Well, he was smiling. And
Okay.
that was the only time I've seen him smile for longer than 5 seconds.
Well, so you know how to get him at a brewery or talking
on
lacrosse?
Nantucket drinking, and he was wearing an Andover lacrosse sweatshirt.
Well, there you go. That's it. Those are
Sleeves
the two.
cut off.
Those are the two things I got: is what suit was he going to wear, and then back to that question because I remember being on Twitter a while ago. Basketball players becoming football players easier than football players becoming basketball players. And as hard as it is for a former football player here, I think I would agree. that the
I
basketball
know.
players could make it over onto the football field.
It hurts because we want to call them soft and remind them that if someone put their helmet screws into their chest, they're probably going down in a crumpled heap.
But they're the best athletes.
They are, and it is really tough. Like, to get a shot, when you go, seeing a football game down on the field at full speed is jarring.
Yes.
Seeing the speed and ferocity of the hits, but seeing basketball height and length on the court.
And the way they move at that size, to
Also,
me, is incredible.
Taking a charge, not too different from. I mean, you don't have pads on. It's not quite the same speed.
And listen, the game of, as much as they want to say it's different today, the game of basketball is still a very physical game. But man, you do go back to my era when I was playing in that
Good old days.
basketball. I mean, it was literally football on the basketball court. If you had an open lane to the basket,
which is what
you were
you
gonna be
guys
on the ground.
basically did when you were in college playing football anyway. When you would go practice indoors, you guys would pack. Didn't you get issued Chuck Taylors to go practice
Issue Chuck
indoors?
Taylors to go indoors and go full go.
No.
Yeah. Yep. Kept the pads on. We were on a regular floor, and we'd have our Chuck Taylors, and we'd go full go. One-on-ones, everything. Everything.
That's
So
not
it's
safe.
horrific.
That's not safe at all.
80s college football was essentially 90s NBA basketball.
that's
80s
exactly right.
college
Yes.
football was Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Let's bring this
Are
full
you done?
circle.
Because I know somehow you were mocking me.
No, never.
In our mock draft yesterday, Jackson went 12th to Houston, so we'll see. We'll see where he ends up going. I do like him. I think he's an excellent. I was happy he was nicked up a little bit in the Notre Dame game, even though we didn't win that game. But I mean, that dude's a player.
In a year where the wide receiver class is not getting as many glowing reviews because so many of the guys at the top of this, Josh Downs coming out of North Carolina, Zay Flowers of Boston College, and Jaxon Smith-Njigba, all slot guys. Quentin Johnston out of TCU, really the only guy talked about as an outside receiver in this first-round class. Jaxon Smith-Njigba and that season he had in a wide receiver room where Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, the eventual offensive rookie of the year, both lived there, and he's the most productive. Pretty scary thought for everyone getting the chance to draft him at the top of this draft. Coming up next, though, let's talk about another future NFL hopeful who made a very shocking reveal about his college career choice. Next. All right, our thanks to Jaxon Smith-Njigba for hanging out with us today. Everyone make sure, again, you check out our draft stream tonight. DraftKings doing a live draft show for the first round coverage. Me, all of you guys going to be a part of that. The folks at VSiN, folks here at DraftKings on all of their social streams, YouTube streams. Going to be a great time. Excited to watch people change their lives, make life-changing sums of money. It's fantastic. In the meantime, we want to send people off with this, that, and the third, 3 quick stories to finish off the day. And this one broke while we were recording. Really sad news. Jerry Springer, the longtime talk show host and former politician, passed away at the age of 79 today. And a 27-year run of one of the most well-known, in some people's estimation, infamous talk shows. It was a staple of the sick day for kids that grew up Charlotte of our age. But, Dad, I mean, someone that you saw the entirety of that career play out over real time.
So when I first started, morning radio first started at ESPN, it wasn't me and Greeny, it was me and Tony Bruno. And Tony and I did a show in Chicago on his set one morning for our show.
Wow.
And got to hang out with him and stuff. That was great. We had a ball. But what a life. This guy was the mayor of Cincinnati in the late 70s. I forgot he hosted America's Got Talent for a couple of years and did a show. We all know Judge Judy. He did a show that was Judge Jerry for a while as well. He was running the gamut on everything.
I think Jerry was a guy who saw what television was going to become. We didn't yet have the reality show format of live with people, follow them around, but he did know that real people reacting in real time, whether it was the Judge show or what eventually became like the Jerry.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like
yes.
iconic. That was iconic for our childhood, and I feel like that was such a prescient. He was really onto something.
He was. And listen, I know a lot of people want to act like that was the beginning of the end of like decorum on live TV.
Right.
There's always been some version of people willing to wade through that muck. But what this birthed, I mean, was it Steve Wilkes,
I think it was.
his security guard from the show, got his own show.
Yep.
Maury Povich, another offshoot of this, known for the paternity test. So this was a staple. I remember during training camp, these were the shows during two-a-days. We would all sit around in the locker room and put up on the TV screens and just binge while we were trying to put our minds on anything but
It was
football.
great. He'd get that controversy going, then a fight would break out. He would just back off, and in comes Steve. You know, it worked pretty well. His net worth is $60 million. So, you know, from that standpoint, I would say it worked well for him.
A staple for so many people. So rest in peace to the late Jerry Springer. A really unfortunate, sad news here on a Thursday. No easy transition. We will get to that and talk about Arch Manning. We're talking about all these draft picks, obviously coming from one of football's first families, beginning his freshman year and going through his first spring at the University of Texas. And this story came out the other day per Pro Football Talk. Steve Sarkisian, their head coach, said that he's already been there, isn't taking any money for his name, image, and likeness. He said everybody's under the assumption that it was an NIL deal for him to come to the University of Texas. It absolutely was not. He's taken zero money from an NIL perspective. Charlotte, do you buy this?
Maybe on a delay. Maybe he hasn't taken it yet, but he has a deal that will kick in once he starts playing. More right. I find yes.
What about like the sentiment that he wouldn't take money until he was a starter? This idea that he wants to earn it, quote unquote.
I hate it. I think it's garbage. I think it's a really holier than thou position to take from someone whose family is so rich that they don't have to. It's like, oh, how nice for you.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't we all love that to be able to like not need anything? It's not even about the NIL, but the fact that they're touting this is like he came here from the purity of heart. I'm like, we're past that. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds good and all that, and there'll be two sides. There's those that say, oh, what a great moment, and those that say, well, his family has money, so he doesn't need the NIL, so he's going to get it eventually. It was kind of like, but what made me think of it, the comparison was Patrick Mahomes. Sure. When he was a first rounder in Kansas City, he did no marketing. He was offered to be a promote different products, and he said, I'm not going to do it until I'm a starter. It was an Alex Smith started that first year he was there. So he waited until he would. Now, he was already drafted and getting money, so he had that, just like we know the family has money. And there's the classic line of when somebody says to Arch, well, you're rich, you know, he could say, no, my parents are rich, you know, and that's fine. But he still is access to it, I'm sure, and it's accessible to him. For those that go to college and don't have the money, I guarantee you're not hearing that line.
No, I would agree, and I wouldn't begrudge him for taking it, right?
No, I wouldn't
That's
at
what I was
all.
gonna say.
Absolutely not.
You should take it. Like, get money while you can from football.
Yeah, I agree. It's a nice sentiment that a lot of people will latch on, but I think that's an unrealistic expectation to ask for most people. I can appreciate, because some people might say maybe he doesn't want the distraction until he's doing that. We know with a lot of these NIL collective deals, we don't necessarily know what deliverables there are. It's not as simple as the transaction-based ones where you do got to go out and actually hoof it on behalf of a company or go out and be a spokesperson at certain places. But I can understand that. I mean, Dad, you remember my rookie year at Pittsburgh, I got asked to be a part of a campaign with Gillette that was pretty involved. And looking back on it, there's part of me, it was a good payout at that time. It was more money than I had ever seen personally. But I look back, and even though I had gotten clearance from the team I was on in Pittsburgh at the time, part of me wonders, like, man, was that a little bit more than I needed at that point as I was trying to go through things? It was a not all money is good money situation, even though at the time, I'm 22 and someone's offering me X on a paper, it was pretty hard to say no to.
I do understand it from the standpoint of that position. He's going to be the leader of that team and maybe doesn't want the spotlight doesn't deserve to be on me or belong to be on me until I'm the starter, and that would be a distraction. I could see that. Again, a position we've never been in.
No, exactly.
No, so there's part of me that I'm sure in his mind could say, it's coming, I'm going to get it, it's going to be there. I'm not going to be have the spotlight on me just yet.
I would say in general, you're not bad if you're taking that money before you're on the field, because you're always worth what someone's willing to pay you. And we're finding out for college players right now, that's a lot more than we expected. Last one quick here. There was a story in USA Today on a man doing a 100-day McDonald's challenge. 57-year-old man named Kevin Magnus has, for the last now 66 days, been eating only McDonald's for 3 meals a day. He buys 3 meals, eats half of them at each juncture, and has lost weight and improved a lot of his vitals. Charlotte, if you had one fast food restaurant you could eat for 100 days, what would it be?
Does Dunkin' Donuts count?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that counts.
I guess being from Boston,
yeah,
that's not
I mean, you
shocking.
basically do
I would
that
have
anyway.
a bacon, egg, and cheese for every meal.
For every meal.
On an English muffin.
The impressive thing about this, me and your mother have been following this one for a while now, is because the first thing I said to her is, I hope he got his blood work done before and then after. And he did, and he posts it. A lot of his blood work is actually better. It's actually better than when he started this thing. So have at it, baby.
We have no
Fast
idea
food
what he
away.
was eating before.
That is true.
By the way, the correct answer is Taco Bell if you're looking for the most
no,
variety in the spice of life. We hope you enjoyed this variety. Check out our draft show. Download, subscribe, rate, and review. Leave us a 5-star rating. And check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel. Thanks. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Boom. Money in the bank.